Now let's talk about protecting your wealth. Last month, the inflation rate in the U.S. had the highest rise for 29 years. You heard that right, 29 years since 1992. That's a big problem for all of us with food, gas, and everything else that's going up. But it's terrible if you're planning on retiring anytime soon. You need to put up an inflation dam to stop it from wiping out the value of your savings and investments. It's not too late. Noble Gold specializes in retirement planning and IRAs. So their team of experts is your first stop and makes it so easy to do. This month, they're offering a 1-ounce American Eagle solid silver proof coin with every IRA or 401k taken out. Not many people can relax when inflation's this high, but like thousands of others, with Noble Gold, you'll be okay. Visit their site at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com, or call them at 877-646-5347. Let's talk about being prepared. We know the deep state, they're pushing everything at us. You can't put your finger on it, but you know something big is going to happen soon, and it's not going to be good. Millions of Americans feel that way right now, and they're quietly stockpiling emergency food while they can. Do you have enough emergency food to get you through a sudden crisis? If not, check out My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they serve millions of American families. Right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit. You'll enjoy a hearty breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day, while everyone else is standing in food lines. Plus, this food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it'll be there when you need it. But don't wait. Go to preparewithx22.com. Claim your 4-week emergency food kit. You'll save 25% if you act now. That's preparewithx22.com. Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2542, and today's date is August 2nd, 2021, and the title of the episode is The Level of Corruption in Our Country is So Severe, There is Only One Way. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, every day that passes, the deep state, the central bank, the corrupt politicians, they dig the hole a little bit deeper, and the people around the country, around the world, can see the truth. It's not getting better for them, it's getting worse. Think about it. They're pushing an infrastructure bill right now, trillions of dollars. They're telling us we're going to create jobs, we're going to improve the infrastructure around the country with roads, trains, bridges, airports, you name it. And then they put forth their infrastructure bill. And then people start to read the infrastructure bill, and people start to realize the infrastructure bill has nothing to do with the infrastructure. Where is all this money going? It's going to their agenda. What is their agenda? Number one, money laundering. They have to pay a lot of people off. Number two, the money is going to those people that are pushing certain agendas, like George Soros. You think he's paying out of pocket for Antifa and everything like that? No, it's coming from the American taxpayer. What else? They're creating the entire environment using this bill for the Great Reset. That's what this is all about. This has nothing to do with making America great again, bringing it back. That was never their plan. That was their sales pitch, but their actions are completely different. Now, when we look at the infrastructure bill, this new $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, it contains billions of dollars to upgrade border crossings, but no money at all for the southern border wall, which is part of the infrastructure. Instead, they're going to make it easier for people to come in this country. What do you think happens when there's more and more people being brought into this country? You think wages go up? And remember, they're being brought in illegally. What do you think happens? Do you think the economy gets better? No, they're preparing the country for the Great Reset. That's what this is all about. So all of this has nothing to do with the infrastructure. If we look a little bit further in this, they're going to allocate hundreds of millions of dollars to U.S. Customs and Border Protection under the Department of Homeland Security. And a lot of it is going for furniture, fixtures, things like that, but nothing that has to do with the real infrastructure of this country. Now, Josh Hawley, he was looking at the infrastructure bill and he's going through it with a fine-tooth comb, and it looks like it's page 2095. He found something. It says, now gender identity is infrastructure. Can't wait to see what else is in this bill. So remember, their definition of infrastructure is completely different from the real definition of infrastructure. What they're doing is they're shaping this entire country for the Great Reset. Now, Trump and the Patriots, they knew this. Remember, Trump has put out warnings about this, letting everyone know that this infrastructure bill is not good. And if the GOP goes along with it, well, they're working with the D's. Think about what's going to happen later on. But this is all about exposing all of this to the American people. Each time they see more and more of this, it hurts their agenda. And I'm talking about the central bank agenda. Because as people start to see this, people start to realize that this is not in the best interest of the American people. It's in the best interest of the elite, of where they want to take us. So they're digging their own hole. Sometimes you must show the people. Now, is the economy going to survive throughout this entire period? No, we're going to end up in a crisis. Remember, Trump, in his 4 years as president, I do believe he's still president, but he's not in office. He allowed Biden to be in there. So you can see what their real plans are for the economy, actually for the entire country. And as you continually watch this, with inflation going up, the devaluation of the dollar, where you're seeing Biden kill a lot of the jobs, reverse a lot of the executive orders that brought industry back to the country, you're starting to get the entire picture now. It doesn't have to be a guessing game anymore. Well, is he going to do this or isn't he going to do this? He's doing it. He's destroying the country economically. That was the plan from the start. And as you watch this, you realize what's really going on. That was the whole point of this. He set them all up and he trapped them. He knows the central bank system does not work for this country. If you go back to his tweets, if you go back in time, he talks about this. Actually, while he was president, he talked about the Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve was not doing what needed to be done to keep the system chugging along. Remember, when he came into office, what did the Fed already start to do? They started to raise the interest rates. Actually, they started as Obama was leaving office. Why were they doing this? Because they were never expecting Trump to come into office. They were expecting Clinton to come into office. She was going to bring us to war. So this way they could raise the interest rates and they would have a cover story. Yes, the economy was going to crash. There was going to be a credit freeze, but all of it could have been blamed on the war. The problem was Clinton lost. Trump got in. They kept the interest rates moving up. Trump called them out on it. And all of a sudden, Fed Powell said, okay, we're going to freeze it right now. We're not going to raise interest rates anymore. The same thing with stimulus. He said, why are you tapering? We need more stimulus to keep the system going. Remember, this system is an illusion. It's controlled completely by the private central bank. If you think this is an open and free market, it isn't. They're controlling the whole thing. Interest rates are controlled by the private central bank. The stock market is controlled by the private Western Central Bank. Why do you think the market's up pretty much all the time? Why do you think when they tried to bring it down during the pandemic, where Soros and others, they started to sell off for no reason whatsoever, why do you think the market never crashed? Trump had full control over it. Does Trump and the Patriots want the market to crash now? No. That would hurt a lot of people. Actually, a lot of the pensions are intertwined in the market. I think what's going to happen down the line is that as Biden and his administration and the central bank continually to push their agenda, the economy is going to deteriorate. People are going to get angry. They're going to see inflation. It's going to get worse and worse, make it harder and harder for people to live. Yes, the central bank, Biden, they're going to come out with some type of announcement saying, oh, this is how we're going to make it better, but it isn't. They're going to make people believe this, but no one's going to believe it, just like with COVID. And people are going to see the real central bank economy. And it's going to continue to deteriorate. And as it does, we'll be entering a crisis. So what we're experiencing right now is the setup for the Great Reset. The setup is going to bring us into the crisis. As we move through the crisis, we're going to see a lot of things change. We're going to see things that we've never seen before. And yes, Trump will return. And when Trump does return, we're going to see Trump start to call out the private Western Central Bank. He's going to let everyone know that the private Western Central Bank is responsible, just like he started to call out the Fed during the early part of his presidency, right up into the pandemic. Yes, the fake news didn't like it. The corrupt politicians didn't like it. Actually, Hillary Clinton was out there saying that you don't talk about the Fed. Why not? It's a private corporation. It's not part of the U.S. government. It's not working for the people. It's working against the people. But I do believe what's happening right now is Trump, the Patriots, set them up. They trapped them in their own central bank illusionary economy. They're moving forward with their agenda, but it's going to backfire on them in the end. And once Trump comes back into his presidency, he's going to start to call them out on it. Not the day that he comes back, but you're going to see down the line when the swamp and everything else is taken care of, he's going to point to them and people are going to know who's responsible for all of this. And as people start to realize what is going on, the people are going to demand change. People are going to want something different. And I do believe cryptocurrency is going to play a role. I do believe gold and silver is going to play a role. I think the fiat currency system, which is controlled by the private Western Central Bank, that is going to disappear. Think about what they're doing now with crypto and gold. They don't want people looking at it. They want total control over it. Remember, they took complete control over the gold, silver, precious metals market with the paper market. They're doing the same thing with cryptocurrency. They're trying to control it because they need to shape it and tell the story of why it's not really a currency. It's just another investment tool, just like gold, silver. But it's not going to work. The people already realize that the central bank fiat system is a dead system. It's not a benefit to the people. There's no reason to have it. There's no reason to have a private Western Central Bank. And as we move forward, more and more people are going to call to audit the Fed. And I think in the end, the Fed, just like the elections, will be audited. People are going to see criminal activity. And all of a sudden, you're going to see the private Western Central Bank, their entire charter, it's going to be canceled. Now, this is not going to happen in a day. But looking forward, we can see we're heading in that direction. The people will have full control of their economic system once again. Let's talk about your health. Many people struggle to lose weight, but noticeably more so after the age of 20. This is an important part because after 20, our body's metabolism slows down by as much as 4% each decade. By the time we're 50, there's a 10% drop or more. This is why I highly recommend Keto with X22.com. This product helped a lot of people lose weight, just like you were on the keto diet, but without having to drastically cut carbs like what's typically required. Keto with X22.com has a 60-day money-back guarantee, free shipping for every order today. BioTrust donates a nutritious meal to a hungry child in your honor through our partnership with NoKidHungry.org. So if you're looking for a way to support your weight management goals, you'll love Keto with X22.com. Get 51% off the next 24 hours by going to Keto with X22.com. That's Keto with X22.com. Let's talk about investing. Bitcoin sinks below 40,000 and the world is celebrating because the most successful investors buy when everyone else is selling and sell when everyone else is buying. But cryptocurrency is a risky investment. Its potential for loss is just as great as its potential for gains. It is exciting and nerve-wracking. That's why when you invest, you need to have the peace of mind that you are investing through a secure platform that has your back so you can concentrate on investing. My Digital Money is a crypto IRA platform that provides you that and more. They offer an unparalleled military-grade cold storage for your cryptos using an ex-military bunker. Your cryptos are in good hands. They also offer one of the most comprehensive insurance. And because this was created by Colin Plume, CEO of Noble Gold, MDM offers the same US-based company client service. Yes, they are not just US-based company. Their customer service is US-based too. You can call them and you'll get a warm body to help you with any issue or answer any of your questions. Be it a forgotten password or help submitting documents, MDM will help you open up and maintain your crypto IRA. So go to their website, mydigitalmoney.com. Digital currency is a new and very speculative market. It is very risky. No outcome can be predicted, and any investment is subject to complete loss and not suitable for all investors. So go to a platform that will secure the risk you are taking. Again, that's mydigitalmoney.com. Now, Trump and the Patriots, as they were preparing to take on the swamp, the deep state, they knew that the system was corrupt. They knew it was infiltration from within. I don't think they realized how bad it was, how deep and wide. Actually, when Trump started to make some speeches, he started to tell people that the deep state, the swamp, is much deeper and wider than they ever thought. The infiltration was everywhere. Corruption was everywhere. And I do believe in the beginning, Trump, he wanted to follow the rule of law. He wanted to go down this path where we have the federal courts, the Supreme Court, take up the case, use the rule of law, use the Constitution, and abide by the Constitution, and then drain the swamp that way. I think during his presidency, and I do believe with the military and those people working with him, they started to realize that this system is much more corrupt than they originally thought. When they started to delve into everything, they started to realize that the swamp is very, very deep, very, very wide. And I do believe throughout the posts, this is why they kept saying in the posts that the military was the only way forward. Because I do believe in the end, they knew that the only way to do this is to expose the entire swamp, make the American population go through all of this so they can see it firsthand and set up devolution. And I do believe this is why in one of the posts, we can see it says we left it up to Trump. We'll be discussing this a little bit later. We left it up to Trump, change in tactics. I do believe at that point, they were going to go in two different directions. And they decided devolution was the way to go. And they started to put all the pieces together. And they started to set up for devolution. And as you can see, the deep state, they thought Trump was going to hit him head on. They were preparing for that. But it never happened. Because Trump knew to go after the infiltration, he would need the American people, just like Andrew Jackson. And he would need to set up certain things because you need both the American people and you need the military combined to create a counterinsurgency against the insurgents. Remember, all this infiltration that we're seeing right now is insurgency. It's not just Antifa. It's the entire swamp. That's the insurgency. And right now, during this long 4 years plus afterwards, after Biden was put in there on purpose, Trump and the Patriots, they have been setting up the counterinsurgency to go up against the insurgency. And Trump, he has a lot more leverage now. He continually puts out the truth. Yes, the fake news continually tells everyone that it's a lie, but later on, future proofs past, it comes out that Trump has been always telling the truth. You see, when you do something like this and it's over time and people see, oh, yes, he was right about this. Oh, yes, he was right about that. Oh, yes, he was right about this. What is Trump doing right now? He's building credibility. He's making everyone see each time the deep state says something, the fake news, Biden, they're losing credibility. People see lie after lie after lie. Trump, they're seeing the truth and it's coming true each time. He's building credibility. So the deep state, the fake news, the big tech companies are going one way. He's going the other way. The people are going to be looking for a truth teller, not a liar. And over time, this is how you build credibility. Over time, this is how you lose credibility. And that's what we're experiencing. Why do you think the poll numbers, and again, these are the fake poll numbers, why do you think they're so low for Biden and Kamala Harris? Why do you think it came out that she's underwater right now? Because no one believes them anymore. And as they continue to lie, guess what happens? They lose all credibility. Now, I do believe with devolution, we are seeing the entire plan play out right now. I do believe a lot of the Post was giving us a lot of information. It's like an encyclopedia. The Post were giving us the different pieces. We had to put them together. And I think we're starting to create that picture. If you think of a gigantic puzzle and you have a lot of the pieces in, but a lot of them are still missing, you can kind of make out the picture, but still you might get it wrong. But as you continually add more and more pieces, you can start to make out the picture and you can say, yes, this is what I think it is. And as you add more pieces, you say, yep, that's the picture. That's what we're dealing with right now. And I do believe a lot of the pieces now are coming together. And as the pieces come together, we can start to make out a lot of these posts and where we're going to go from this point on. Because we're starting to realize and see the strategy of the Patriots. Now, are we going to know everything? No. But I do believe that within the posts, we have more than we know. And we have enough to kind of figure it out. We'll be discussing a lot more about this a little bit later. But let's talk about the border crisis, because remember, Trump set all this up so people can see exactly what is going on. They can see who has lied to them, who's been telling the truth. Now, Bill Melugin put this out on Twitter, and this is the largest group of illegals we've ever seen being held by Border Patrol under the bridge in Texas. And it's just thousands upon thousands of people. And when you look at it, you can see how many people are coming into this country. Because the Biden administration, and remember, he's a puppet, those that are controlling him, this is what they want to happen. Trump wanted the American people to see this. Think about what is being shown to the American people. When Biden came in, they told us that we're in a deadly pandemic. You got to mask up. You can't go to work. You can't go to school. Can't open your businesses. You can't do any of these things. Can't go to church. Can't go to temple. You can't do any of these things because why? We're in a deadly pandemic. Now, during this deadly pandemic, the dark winter, all of a sudden, you see people coming into this country. People were confused. This doesn't make sense. We can't do any of these things, but you're bringing in people during this time? That makes no sense. Now we have the Delta variant, and we see a lot of people coming into this country. People are saying this still doesn't make any sense. Each time they do this, they're losing credibility. They're becoming the liar in chief. That's what we're experiencing right now. Let's take this to the next level. All these individuals that are coming in, we come to find out that, the normal ID requirement on flights, well, they don't have to show ID because they're trusting whatever the Border Patrol says. So for them, they can just get on a plane. TSA is not checking anything. But remember, for the American population, oh no, you have to be scanned, patted down. You need to show ID, even if you lived in this country 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But people that are just jumping over the border illegally, they don't have to do this. People are seeing this very, very clearly now. And people are questioning this every single day. It's not getting better for the deep state. It's actually getting worse. When people say, well, how do you know it's getting better? How do you know people are pushing back? Well, let's take a look around the world. Remember when COVID first hit? How many protests did you see? Did you see everyone out there protesting? Or were people saying, okay, it's a pandemic. We're going to stay locked down 15 days to stop the spread, 30 days to stop the spread. Now, today, what do you see? Oh, protests in Paris, in Italy, in the UK, in Australia. Actually, out in Australia, the military is called in to control the situation, to keep everyone locked down. That's how you know things are changing. You can see it right in front of you. Step back a little bit. Take the 40,000-foot view. You can see it all. People are no longer just accepting it. They're fighting back. Now, very interestingly, QTOP put this out, and it's about Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, remember, the other day we mentioned about Soros and his body, Rubin, who had a sex dungeon. Remember, this is all intertwined, interrelated to Epstein and everything else. And Ghislaine Maxwell, well, there's an update now. And this is what QTOP put out. Intervening parties in the case request Judge Prescott to speed up the declassification process of the documents that Ghislaine does not want released to the public. A small reminder that these docs will include reportedly thousands of highly recognized names, CEOs, celebrities, politicians, and more. The judge already ordered the unsealing of the documents months ago. Ghislaine has been slow-walking it to try to avoid release, all while she is preparing her criminal trial she faces. Let's see how Judge Prescott responds in a day or two. As I've been saying, Ghislaine is also another huge bombshell, and the deep state is doing their best to control it. This is going to do serious damage to the names involved in these documents when they are unsealed. It's going to be a very hot August. Yes, this is going to implicate a lot of people, a lot of politicians, a lot of people out in Hollywood. Why do you think they're trying to keep this from coming out? Because they know what's going to happen. Now, we know that the election information is going to be coming out, and we know that the deep state, they're going to be doing everything they possibly can to shut this down. Yes, we're going to go through a communication blackout. Yes, we're going to see riots. Yes, we're going to see all of this. The Patriots have been planning for this. They understand this. But remember, the people need to start pushing back on what they're trying to do here. That's what this is all about. Remember, when the British came to the shores of the U.S. at the time, the colonists were sitting there. They saw all the warships. Did they say, okay, you know what? The troops are coming in. We better go back to our homes. We better obey them because we don't want to lose our homes. We don't want to go up against them. We don't want to do anything. No, what did the colonists do? They said, oh, no. We want freedom. You're not telling us what to do. You can bring in the forces. You can bring in the big stick, but we're not going along with this. We're not complying. That is what is happening right now. There are certain states here in this country that are no longer complying with what the CDC, the FDA, liar Fauci is saying right now. People are no longer complying. Yes, you certainly still have people that are going to comply. Well, you had that during the Revolutionary War. Remember, there was one government really back then. It was the British government. People were still loyal to the British government. Yes, in families. It divided families because part of the family, they might have said, I like the British government. I'm going to obey, or maybe not like it, but that's the government. And then you have the other part of the family saying, no, I want freedom. I don't like to be controlled. The same thing's happening right now. We have a deep state government. And then we can call them the colonists, which is the patriots, saying, no, we want freedom. We don't want to be ruled by these people anymore. And people are no longer complying. Now, very interestingly, with this whole pandemic, we see out in England and many other countries, they're locking down. And this is coming out of Sky News. They tested England's major railway stations, and trains reveal no traces of coronavirus. Remember, the virus is very smart. It knows only to hit planes buses, but not trains. Of course they didn't find anything. They wouldn't have found anything anyhow. It doesn't live on the surfaces that long, especially out in sunlight. We were told this from the very, very beginning. But we can see those individuals that are pushing these mandates, well, they have rules for them and rules for us. Obama right now is holding a lavish 60th birthday bash at his Martha Vineyard $12 million estate. Now, that's very interesting. Aren't they pushing global warming or climate change? And they've been telling us that the oceans are rising at a pace that you cannot believe. Why would he spend $12 million to buy a home that is on the water? Does that make any sense? Because they know it's fake. Actually, when you start to look at pictures, and we showed them before, going all the way back to the 20s, 1912, the beaches look exactly the same. Let's talk about our health. Our confidence levels, feeling of self-worth, and daily frame of mind is directly tied to our appearance. Many anti-aging serums attempt to capitalize on that. However, many of them fall short because they don't target the root of the problem. This is why many people take collagen every single day. It works better at reducing the appearance of wrinkles than anything else because it supercharges your collagen intake. You'll see massive improvements to the appearance of your hair, your nails, as well as an overall mood. If you're looking for a way to reduce the appearance of wrinkles, you'll love healthwithx22.com. Get 51% off with healthwithx22.com for the next 24 hours by going to healthwithx22.com. Now let's talk about protecting your wealth. Last month, the inflation rate in the U.S. had the highest rise for 29 years. You heard that right, 29 years since 1992. That's a big, big problem for all of us with food, gas, and everything else that's going up. But it's terrible if you're planning on retiring anytime soon. You need to put up an inflation dam to stop it from wiping out the value of your savings and investments. Noble Gold's expertise in retirement planning and IRA means their team of specialists is your first stop. Call them about this month's offer of a 1-ounce American Eagle Pure Silver proof coin with an IRA. Just call them at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. You see no difference whatsoever. Actually, they told us a lot of the country would be underwater right now. It isn't. So who's Obama having over? There's 475 confirmed guests. Aren't we in a pandemic? Isn't he telling Joe Biden, as he speaks to him from the basement in his earpiece, lock it down, lock it down? How come he's having a party? He has Pearl Jam playing there, Steven Spielberg, and many other people coming over. Well, I wonder what kind of party this is going to be. It might be an Epstein party. We don't know. Now, Jesse Kelly, he put this out. Reminder, none of the people lecturing you about masks, and we're all in this together, and lockdowns have had to make a single adjustment to their lives. None of them. The pandemic of the haves and have not. This is why we see Mayor Bowser out there without a mask. This is why Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, had Lollapalooza. And then after the concert, she said, "Oh God, it's COVID. We better lock down." They know it's fake. You could see it's fake. Now, people are starting to realize. People are starting to wake up. And as they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, remember, their entire goal is for mandatory vaccinations. Their entire goal is to have Biden say we're locking down the country. This is why they're inching towards this. Trying to convince you, oh, no, we're not going to do this. Oh, no, don't worry, we're just doing this right now. No, what they're really doing, watch their actions, not their words, is they're bringing us to that point very, very slowly. This is how they do it. Now, really, do you really think the unvaccinated people want to be protected by the vaccinated people? Absolutely not. The reason the unvaccinated didn't get vaccinated because they know they're healthy. They don't need it. And they know that they're not going to get it. And if they do get it, you have HCQ, ivermectin. Most of the time, your body just cures itself. Because remember the curable rate, 99.97x%, depending on your age. But remember, these governors, they're all in the spotlight. The mayors are in the spotlight. Look at Governor Newsom right now. His recall starts September 14th. And yes, they still have the mail-in ballots. They still have that system operational. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. I do believe they're going to cheat in the recall. And then we're going to have a forensic audit of the cheating. Remember, we haven't fixed anything yet. Everything is still under the deep state system in regards to elections. Remember, we're doing the forensic audit right now. But when you look at what is being done, you can see governors, mayors, the Biden administration, the invisible enemy, they're pushing the idea, they're pushing the agenda to have everyone vaccinated. And they're now going to companies, private companies, and urging them to make vaccines mandatory. Why do they want everyone vaccinated? Look at the push. This tells you it's not going to benefit you because you know when it will benefit you. Because if something is so great, people would just go out and get it. They know they're lying. Now, Axios put this out. This is on Twitter. And here are the companies requiring workers to get vaccinated. Google, Facebook, Netflix, Walmart, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Saks Fifth Avenue, The Washington Post, Ascension Health, Lyft, Uber, Twitter, the Walt Disney Corporation. They're all requiring people to get vaccinated. Now, of course, you can say, well, under religious beliefs, I cannot get vaccinated. If you like to go to court, you can try it. You're not going to win. Now, we can see certain governors out there, like Cuomo right now. He is basically telling companies to only accept vaccinated people. So people who want to go into the store or a restaurant or a bar, they're saying only accept vaccinated people. Take a listen to what he said.
Businesses, I am asking them and suggesting to them go to vaccine-only admission. Go to vaccine-only admission.
So are we experiencing now medical apartheid? Because now he's actually out there saying it out loud. Only do business with these certain people. The other people don't do business with. Fauci is out there saying with COVID, there are no more individual rights. Think about what they're saying right now. We're born with these rights. Everyone always still has the rights. They're pushing their agenda as hard as they possibly can. And they're not going to stop. Trump and the Patriots, they know this. The people, all they have to do is say no. The majority of the people, all they have to do is say, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not getting the vaccine. If you like a lawsuit, we can do it. Remember, this is emergency use only. And you can always claim religious exemption, saying that, listen, I'm not taking it. And they can try to fight it, but they'll lose in the end. Now, very interestingly, we see that the database proving how Fauci funded the Wuhan lab, that has been taken offline. Magically offline, but if you go back to the Wayback Machine, you can see all the information. When you bring it up, it says error. Why would they take it offline? If you notice, they're trying to control it all. And what they do is they remove certain information so you don't have access to it. But remember, if it's on the internet, it's always on the internet. You always can find the information. All you need to do is go back to the Wayback Machine, or people have been saving it offline, so we always have it. And we can see that they're preparing for communication blackout and the riots. Remember, is this really about the virus or the election? Or is it really about the virus or the forensic audit? They need people masked up again, because when they push their riots, it's the same thing that's happening back when BLM and Antifa was rioting. They need people masked up. Yes, also masks. It brings in fear. It seems like they're controlling you. It's all part of the same agenda. But we can see there's many different areas, the same areas that were masked up before, New York, California, and the rest, they're all masked up. We see Louisiana governor, he'll reinstate a statewide mask mandate beginning August 4th. Isn't it interesting that all of this is happening in August? And right on schedule, we have the news coming out against Florida. Now, Matt Walsh put this out and says, the people pushing the Delta panic are absolutely diabolical scumbags. Look at this article screaming about the unbelievable, frightening outbreak in Florida. But the article never says anything about deaths. They leave that out completely. Here's why. So here's the article. Florida emerges as epicenter of COVID outbreak. Numbers are unbelievably frightening. This was July 30th, 2021. Why do you think they're putting this out there? I mean, we discussed this. They're going to hit those states that aren't following what they want. They're going to say, these states, these are the states that are responsible. But let me continue. Florida's 7-day average for deaths is 58. In a state with over 20 million people, that is 0.0002% of the population. Florida's most populated city, Jacksonville, hasn't had a single COVID death all summer. Same for Miami and Orlando. They can't use deaths anymore. Those days are over. So when you look at the case numbers, well, they manipulated those. Actually, when you see this massive 300 spike, well, guess what happened here? It was created with old data. So in certain areas, they're telling us there's deaths. Certain areas, they're telling us there's cases. And the massive 300 spike in COVID deaths that was reported by the media turned out to be another lie. Johns Hopkins University recorded a 300% spike in COVID deaths on Friday. Deaths jumped from 321 on Thursday to 891 on Friday, but the number of deaths was skewed by old data. One case dated back to last spring. Florida and Delaware reported a huge increase in deaths on Friday because they dumped old data into the totals. They're pushing fake information. The cases aren't really rising. There are no deaths. No, who's getting tested? Who's running to the testing centers? Drive by a testing center. Do you see lines out there, everyone getting tested? No. People aren't doing it anymore. They're going about their everyday life. And they know this. And they're worried and afraid. And this is why you see the Biden health officials say it's time to impose requirements on Americans to get vaccinated. Why are they doing this? Because they dangled the carrot and they said, listen, we'll give you cash, prizes, burgers, shake, fries. That didn't work. So what are they going to do now? Well, they're going to demand that you do what we say. They're preparing for mandatory vaccinations. They're preparing for mandatory lockdowns. Why are they preparing all of this? Because the storm's coming. Yes, we know the storm's coming. Remember yesterday when we played McCarthy? He was talking about COVID, and he said that for some reason Pelosi thinks a storm is coming. Well, the storm is coming, and they know it. And this is why they're doing all of this. They're preparing for what is coming. Sidney Powell put this out. The WHO right now changed the definition of herd immunity, so it is no longer includes immunity developed through previous infection. Think about what the WHO is doing right now. Trump countered the pandemic with a vaccine. People have been building herd immunity without the vaccine. The WHO now is trying to cover this up and trying to say, oh, the only way to build immunity is with a vaccine. See, every time they do these things, they're knowingly doing it. This is going to make an incredible case against all these organizations. Trump put out a statement. If I were president right now with COVID raging back, people being shot and killed in record numbers all over our cities, and the border totally open with criminals and heavily infected COVID people pouring through our southern borders and into our communities, the fake news media would be having an absolute field day. When I left office, law enforcement was supported like never before. The border was strong, safe, and secure, the best ever. And I got a highly effective vaccine developed in less than 9 months, when it was supposed to take 5 years or more. Hopefully, people will never forget. Well, first of all, who's he really talking to when he's talking about the vaccine? He's talking to the deep state, to the central bankers, to those people that were trying to bring us into the Great Reset. Remember, it was supposed to take 5 years. Trump knew that people were going to die like we've never seen before if the global economy was shut down for 5 years. He had to counter it. What did he know when he countered it? He knew that there were therapeutics. So if you did, by chance, get COVID, you'd be able to cure yourself. You didn't need a vaccine. And most likely, even the people with the vaccine, they probably can use the therapeutics to cure themselves. But think about what has happened here. Trump countered their entire push to bring us into the Great Reset. He allowed the population to reach herd immunity. The unvaccinated people reached herd immunity. This is why the Delta variant and all the other variants, remember, as it mutates, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It doesn't get stronger, it gets weaker. This is why it's not affecting anyone. This is why they have to manipulate the numbers like they're doing. They actually had to do it in the beginning of COVID, but now it's even harder. And remember, the PCR test is giving false positives. Let's talk about being prepared. We know the deep state, they're pushing everything at us. You can't put your finger on it, but you know something big is going to happen soon, and it's not going to be good. Millions of Americans feel that way right now, and they're quietly stockpiling emergency food while they can. Do you have enough emergency food to get you through a sudden crisis? If not, check out My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they serve millions of American families. Right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit. You'll enjoy a hearty breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day, while everyone else is standing in food lines. Plus, this food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it'll be there when you need it. But don't wait. Go to preparewithx22.com. Claim your 4-week emergency food kit. You'll save 25% if you act now. That's preparewithx22.com. Let's talk about protecting your wealth. What if I tell you you can get your hands on some gold from one of the, if not the most important shipwrecks in our history? It serves as a snapshot of America's most historic era, the California Gold Rush. It is the biggest contributor to the Panic of 1857. And no, it's not the Titanic. It's SS Central America. Now you can own coins recovered from it. Each coin has a unique recovery number and comes in a quality display box with a certificate of authenticity. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com to get yours now, or call them at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. The CDC and the FDA, they already admitted to this in their documentation. It's on their sites that these tests are not reliable. And remember, they're going to be changing these tests in December because now they'll be able to distinguish between COVID and the flu. Remember, flu disappeared. They've been treating all these people. Most likely, they had the flu. So they've been using a faulty test. The CDC, FDA knowingly knew this. The WHO knowingly knew this. And they've been treating people for the wrong virus. Plus, they knowingly knew that HCQ, ivermectin, and many other drugs would prevent or cure you from having COVID, and most likely the flu. But they didn't want that out there. But you can see there are more and more questions about the cures. Actually, the Wall Street Journal put this out. Why is the FDA attacking a safe, effective drug? Ivermectin. Ivermectin is a promising COVID treatment and prophylaxis. But the FDA is going after this. Why? Because the only way you can get emergency use is you got to show that there's no other cure. Plus, there's also a contract. But ivermectin, it fights 21 different viruses, including SARS-CoV, probably the flu too. A single dose reduced the viral load of SARS-CoV-2 in cells by 99.8% in 24 hours and 99.98% in 48 hours. And this is according to a June 2020 study published in the Journal of Antiviral Research. They held the cure from the people to get the emergency use of the vaccine. And this is why the FDA right now is bad-mouthing ivermectin. This is why the WHO bad-mouth HCQ. This is why the fake news went after it. This is why the pharmacists held it back. This is going to be the largest class action lawsuit the world has ever seen. And these organizations, the WHO, the FDA, the CDC, they will lose all credibility because They've lied to the people from the very, very beginning. Actually, let me repeat that. They knowingly lied to the people from the very, very beginning. Actually, the Jerusalem Post put this out. Ivermectin, a drug used to fight parasites in third world countries, could help reduce the length of infection for people who contract coronavirus for less than $1 a day, according to a recent research by Sheba Medical Center. The truth is getting out there. Everyone's going to see this very, very clearly. Now, Don Jr., he put this out on Twitter, and it's about how the Times set up the news and the policy agenda on the lab leak hypothesis, discrediting it and anyone who explored it, while taking money from the Chinese state-owned propaganda outlets such as China Daily, and while pursuing long-term investments in China. So they lied to the American people, and they set this up so the lie could be repeated over and over and over. You see, when they talk about, and I'm talking about the deep state, when they talk about the big lie, they're talking about themselves. The big lie with the election, the big lie with COVID, the big lie with everything. They are the liars. Don Jr. also put this out. I had access to all the most sensitive intelligence related to the pandemic. The lab leak theory isn't just a possibility. At the very least, it is more like a probability, if not very close to certainty. John Ratcliffe. And remember, he saw all this information. They're letting us know that this wasn't brought to the world from the wet market, bats flying around there. It came from Wuhan. Ratcliffe is confirming this, letting everyone know this. You see, the people now, they're fighting back. People are starting to realize what's really going on. And more people are going to push back. That's why you see the protests all around the world. Because when you're brought to the precipice, you say, we don't care anymore. You're not doing this to us. We do not comply. This is what the colonists did during the Revolutionary War. We're in a war right now. It's an information war. And you can see people are fighting back all over this country. Out in New Jersey, at the beach, someone paid for a sign, you know, those signs that the plane drags through the air and over the beaches. It says, Trump won, Biden is a fraud, audits prove it. And people were clapping and screaming and saying yes on the beach. So we can see that people around this country, they agree. Just because they're silent doesn't mean they're going along with the deep state agenda. It means that they're silenced, they're observing, they're watching, and as they're brought to the precipice, this is when they start to speak out. This is when they start to push back. You can see it in other countries very, very clearly because they're pushing the health card right now, and people are saying, no, we're getting to that point in this country. You can see it. They're going to be pushing the same exact thing. They test it out in the other countries, see how people react. They're not reacting very well, but they know there's no other place for them to go. They have to follow through. Trump and the Patriots, they knew they were going to do this. They knew the playbook. They knew that people had to see it, experience it, feel it. Because if you just told it to them, no one would believe it. You have to experience it firsthand. Now, with these election audits, we can see that a lot of things are starting to happen right now. And we can see the deep state pushing back. Now, this is from Patrick Byrne. This is the American Project. And this is what he put out on Telegram. It says, this is true. The American Project and I have agreed to backstop a Michigan assessment audit. It is a simple audit that states that states can do for a 25 cents per ballot, not $4 or $5 or more per ballot, but 25 cents. We do that in a couple of weeks. Michigan will have a full assessment. And if there are fraudulent ballots, we'll be able to steer the Michigan authorities to those ballots specifically without their needing to find needles in a haystack. So we have now taken the economic argument away from Michigan. I will commit to getting this funded. I think it'll be about $1.25 million. They need only accept. If Michigan turns down an offer of a free assessment on it, we know the fix is in. And yes, and today in Arizona, it was the deadline of Dominion turning over their information. And the deadline was 1 p.m. Pacific time. And guess what happened? Well, Dominion responded, Jack Sellers responded, and they said, no way, we're not giving you anything. So that means they're going to take it to the next level. I wonder if they're going to issue a warrant to get the information. Maybe, because we can see Dominion, the Maricopa County, why wouldn't they comply? Remember, this is an election of the people. It's supposed to be completely transparent. We should be able to see everything. Now, very interestingly, Senator Kelly Townsend put this out on Twitter. She said, I am pleased to announce that my request for the audit of the Zuckerberg bucks that funded the Arizona 2020 general election as being realized. As the Auditor General is getting everything set to begin, it will be interesting to see exactly how this was spent. Then she tweeted out, just in case there is any nonfeasance involved in the upcoming Auditor General's look into the Zuckerberg money, she attached ARS 41-1279.04 provides the Auditor General's authority to examine records. Paragraph D states that any office or person who knowingly fails or refuses to permit access and examination is guilty of Class 2 misdemeanor. She's just putting it out there, letting them know. Now, very interestingly, Code Monkey Z put something out on Telegram and said that a whistleblower has stepped forward. Today, the tides turn, he says. And it seems that this whistleblower is not from Arizona. The whistleblower is from one of the many other states that use the Dominion software. And the whistleblower, well, it seems that this whistleblower gave the password. And the Arizona Audit Live feeds on Telegram put this out. Dominion supervisor password has always been in possession of Dominion contractors. One brave patriot steps forward and reveals to Ron Watkins Code Monkey Z. So I wonder what they can see with this password. Can they see the routers? Can they see everything? I do believe so. Did they always have the password? Most likely. Now, we know, going back in time, the founding fathers, they were out there telling us that the worst thing that could ever happen to this country is corruption and foreign influence. And actually, if we go back in time to a post, and this post is 4,889. This is October 18, 2020. Down below, actually, there's a picture of Hunter Biden, but down below, it says, American founders believe that corruption and foreign influence were among the gravest threats to our nation. Now, just keep that in mind. Corruption, foreign influence. Think about the elections. Think about those individuals that are here in this country, infiltration from within, the corruption that we're seeing. Richard Grenell put this out. Washington, D.C. was meant to be a place where politicians and reporters went to serve the people of the United States temporarily and then went back home. It's now an out-of-control beast where partisan reporters are permanent residents who fight for bigger federal government. Now think about this. We have people in government that have been there 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. The founding fathers never wanted this. The people there were supposed to be hardworking people. They would leave their job and come into government and serve. The reason why they wanted this is because these are people that understand what's going on in the country. Today, we have career politicians. They never built a business. They never lost a business. They never worked in a company. Most of them, I should say. They came out and they served as a politician. They have no connection to the everyday person. And over time, this breeds corruption. Actually, if we go back to post 2983, this is March 6, 2019. And it says, why is POTUS pushing for term limits? Time equals corruption. That is absolutely true. And in the end, I do believe there's going to be time limits. And all these people that have been there for a very long time, well, their time is up. And remember, the criminal enterprise, the deep state, they always bring in more deep state players. This is why they had to fix the elections. This is why it's rigged. And think about the corruption we've just been talking about. From the very beginning, in the beginning when we started the report, I think Trump realized and the Patriots realized that there is so much corruption that the swamp is deep and wide. It's much larger than they thought. And they realized the corruption is so out of control, there is only one way. Now, yesterday we talked about devolution and how all this fits into it. Since Trump said this is an act of war, or we've been attacked, it's worse than Pearl Harbor, it's worse than 9/11. If we are at war right now. General Flynn says we're at war. I do believe we are at war. It's no longer civilian law. It's military law. And yesterday in the Post, that video was removed. This was Lindsey Graham. And by the way, Lindsey Graham was diagnosed with COVID, even though he's fully vaccinated. Think about that for a sec. But anyhow, that video of Graham talking to Kavanaugh about enemy combatants and what would happen if there were foreign influences or domestic influences. Is this an act of war? Can we treat them as enemy combatants? Take a listen to the discussion.
House on 9/11. Is that correct?
That is correct, Senator.
Did you believe America was under attack?
Yes. It was under attack.
Right. Do you believe that if the terrorists could strike any city in the world, and they had you get a one shot at the world, based on your time in the White House, do you believe they'd pick an American city probably over any other city?
Well, it certainly seemed that New York and Washington, D.C. were the two targets.
The only reason I mentioned that to my good friends, and they are, who believe that America's not part of the battlefield, he sure was on 9/11. The law. If an American citizen goes to Afghanistan and takes up the fight against our forces and they're captured in Afghanistan, the current law is you can be held as an enemy combatant in spite of your citizenship. Is that correct? Is that the Hamdi decision?
That's what the Supreme Court said in the Hamdi decision with appropriate due process findings.
Absolutely. Appropriate due process findings. Here's what I want people in your business to think about. Are you aware of the fact that the radical Islamic groups are trying to recruit Americans to their cause? That they're over the internet trying to get Americans to take up jihad?
Yes.
The likelihood of an American citizen joining their cause is real because it's happened in the past. The likelihood of it happening in the future, I think, is highly likely. If an American citizen attacking the embassy in Kabul can be held as an American citizen, here's the question. Can an American citizen collaborating with other terrorists who are not American citizens be held as an enemy combatant for attacking the Capitol? And if they can't, you're incentivizing the enemy to find an American citizen because they have a privilege that no other terrorist would have. So you said something was very compelling to me, that you apply the law and you have to understand how it affects people. Right?
Yes, sir.
I hope you will understand that this war is not over, that the war is coming back to our shores.
So if we are at war, these individuals then are enemy combatants. Trump, through the posts, we can see he put everything into position. The military knows all of this. And I think going back in time, Trump knew, and the Patriots working with him knew that the corruption was so deep that there was only one way to go now. If we go back to post 36, November 2nd, 2017, and we scroll down to the bottom, it says, there is simply no other way than to use the military. It's that corrupt and dirty. If we go to post 53, this is November 2nd, 2017, the level of corruption in our country and most others is so severe, there is only one way, and only one way is in all capitals. If we go to post 1581, this is June 20th, 2018. And it says, we serve at the pleasure of the president. We left the decision on timing to him. Today, at the rally, he made his decision. Shift in tactics. Attacks. Now, I wonder if Trump and the Patriots, they had a discussion and they realized, listen, we want to go through the rule of law. We'll try to go through the rule of law, but let's start setting up devolution. I do believe they were setting this up anyhow, but we're going to have to shift tactics. And we're going to have to show the people. The swamp is going to have to drain themselves. The people will have to demand it. And we're going to have to show them. And I do believe at this point, everything started to change. Now, what's very interesting is Jack Posobiec. He came out on Twitter and he said, White House official this AM. B lockdown speech being drawn up this week. They're planning to make it sound like one of the most solemn in history. Real Bush on the night of 9/11 type stuff. would start stocking up if I were you all. Now, think about what's happening and what he's really saying here. Letting everyone know that, yes, they know that the forensic audit information's coming. They're preparing for this. They want everyone locked down just like before so they can push their riots, so they can push a communication blackout and whatever else they have planned. Now, what's very interesting, and the timing is very interesting, we see that the Pawn Piper PTS security flaws threaten 80% of the hospitals in the U.S. Now, this is a vulnerability in hospitals. So, what is this? Well, cybersecurity researchers disclosed a set of 9 vulnerabilities known as Pawn Piper that left a widely used pneumatic tube system vulnerable to critical attacks, including a possibility of a complete takeover. So pneumatic tube systems are integral logistics and transport solutions that are used to transport blood samples in hospital settings to diagnostic laboratories securely. Successful exploitation of the issues, therefore, could result in leakage of sensitive information, enable an adversary to manipulate data, and even compromise the PTS network to carry out a man-in-the-middle attack and deploy ransomware. Now, think about this. If COVID is unraveling and the hospitals knowingly told everyone people had COVID because they received money, would they need a way of getting rid of this information? Yes, they would. Also today, Twitter announced expansion of the collaboration with AP and Reuters to identify and elevate credible information on the platform. So now we have the fake news where they're going to confirm everything on Twitter. They're expanding the collaboration. Communication blackout? Yes, they're going to try to control the situation with this. Is it going to work? Then we have the story that came out that the 3rd D.C. Metro police officer who was at the Capitol on January 6th dies of a suicide. Now, very interestingly, this individual, Gunther Hashida, they're saying he committed suicide, but the family right now, they're not really saying that it had to do with January 6th. And it is very unclear how this individual killed himself. Now, did he know too much? Was it wet work? It's interesting that this came out at the perfect time when they were having the January 6th investigation. And the forensic audit information is supposed to be coming out. And Mike Lindell is having a symposium. So think about it. All these things are coming together all at once. Coincidence? I think not. Now remember, yesterday, McCarthy was out there saying that Pelosi believes a storm is coming. Now, we were told from the very, very beginning, from Trump, when he first came into office, that a storm is coming. And they asked the president, what storm? He said, you'll find out. We've seen that video over and over and over. We've been talking about a storm. Now Pelosi mentions a storm. And then I started to think about devolution and how all the pieces are coming together. And what's very interesting, if we go back to post 55 and 44, let me go back to post 44 first. Now, Mel Q is thinking the exact same way that I was thinking. So let me just read it from Mel Q. She said, okay, here's post 44, post 55. Now, post 44 is November 2nd, 2017. It says, before POTUS departs on Friday, he'll be sending an important message via Twitter. God bless. Now, we all thought, well, POTUS, when Trump was president, he'll be sending a message on Twitter. Now, let's think about this. It didn't say Trump. It said POTUS. POTUS could be anybody, right? Does Trump have a Twitter account? No. Let's go to post 55. Look to Twitter, exactly this. My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. God bless. Is this going to be Biden letting the deep state players know the storm is here? And is he going to put this out on Twitter? Think about when Biden was running for the presidency. He said, we're going to go through a dark winter. Pelosi mentioned that a storm is coming. Are they preparing for the storm? Are they going to let the deep state players know that the storm is here? Are they sending a message? It could be. See, they understand that Trump and the Patriots, they're in total control. The panic is real. How do you know there's panic? Because they wouldn't have to do all of this. They wouldn't have to force people. They wouldn't have to first beg, now say it's mandatory if they were in control. People would believe them and listen to them. But when people are no longer believing you and they're looking for the truth teller and they know that you're a liar, you have to force people into doing things. That is called panic. They're doing the lockdowns because they're panicking. They're making sure they get rid of all the information in hospitals and other places because they're panicking. They're setting it all up because they are panicking. And I do believe they're going to let people know that this storm is coming. Now, this might not happen, but it's starting to look more real every single day. And we know from the very, very beginning that Trump was creating the storm. He was putting all the pieces together. He was trapping them. Remember, this is the biggest sting operation we have ever seen. The world is going to know. As the people wake up, the counterinsurgency is getting stronger and stronger and stronger to go up against the insurgents. That is the deep state. Trump was waiting for this moment. They prepared for this moment. And now they're ready to attack. There is only one way, and that is the military. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.